Thank you for signing up for this class. You're going to find that this class is a fount of information which is very useful for a lot of different things you're going to do. I teach a lot of figure drawing, obviously, but in many respects, this class has more actual use in the entertainment field because it allows you to draw the objects and the elements and including the world that the stories take place in. So I'm going to start with basically just sharing my screen, and I'll do the rest of the talking while I'm showing you how to do things. All right? Thank you. All right, so we're looking at my Photoshop screen here. It's the easiest way to show these things. When I am teaching this class, the first thing I ask people to do is draw boxes for me. And so in this case, drawing boxes basically helps me to understand how well my students understand perspective. So boxes are smaller in the back and they get bigger as they come towards the front, like this. And as they go away from you at the bottom, of course, they're a little farther away from you on the bottom. They go like this. All right. So when I give this assignment, students make certain kinds of mistakes, certain kinds of errors, okay? Sometimes when they scrutinize a box, what they'll do is they'll draw everything where all the lines are parallel, like this. Okay? When all the lines are parallel, you're basically drawing a box which does not go back in perspective. Okay? Now, sometimes when you're looking at an actual box, it can be very close to all lines being parallel. We have a tendency to want to say, push the back, make the back smaller. So one way of thinking about it is line A in the front is always bigger than line B in the back. And if line B in the back is bigger than line A in the front, that's a problem. Let's take a look at line C here, see? Line C here will be bigger than line D back here. So the front is always bigger than the back. And this is the number 1 down. This is the number 2 down. And this is the number 3 down. And the number 2 is always the longest. Okay? Now, drawing boxes is very important because most of what we draw, we can actually break out of boxes, or we can actually carve out of boxes. What are other mistakes that can happen with boxes? One is that the back is bigger than the front, and people do this unconsciously. And that is, people start drawing boxes like this. So here's a box where the back is bigger than the front. Okay? Now, in truth, when you start looking at organic boxes and things like that, sometimes the back is bigger than the front, but that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about today is how to draw a proper box and how to divide a proper box up into different kinds of shapes. And that's going to be your first assignment. All right? So, another one is boxes that are drawn so that the front is pushed out so far, like this, that we start getting distortions, okay? And I will explain distortions here. You can't quite see the side of the box, but you start getting distortions, and that's a problem too. So parallels are a problem, okay? Distortion, which is a perspective problem, and the back bigger than the front. Tend to be the main problems that people run into. Okay, so let me show you how we're going to set up our boxes, and you'll see that there's a way to get around this. And I'm going to break the boxes down for you. And then I'm going to show you some exercises that I want you to do between now and the first day of class. Because if you can start drawing boxes, you're going to find that drawing everything else is easier. All right? So first, we're going to have a vanishing point that goes across the top here. All right? Now, in perspective drawing, you've probably seen this, and I'll just do this on the end, where you have the railroad track, and it just gets, everything gets closer and closer together until it disappears on the horizon. You know, here might be the, the telephone line, and the pole, and the pole just gets smaller and smaller as it goes towards the horizon. So that's one way of looking at this, and you'll see this examples in perspective books. What I'm talking about is we're going to pull one line out here and one line out here. So this is going to go like this, and this is going to go like this. And then I have another line that comes out like this, and then I pull another line that comes out like this. And we're going to be drawing in 2-point perspective. I'm not going to complicate it to 3-point perspective. So we're going to call this vanishing point 1, and this is vanishing point 2. Not a lot of perspective that you have to worry about. This is just a simple thing. All of these lines are going to be straight. And then we complete the box. Now, if you do the box this way, your box will be drawn correctly, all right? The back will be smaller than the front on all sides. The number 2 right in here is going to be the longest, because as we go from this point, which is the closest to us, right here, it is going back, and as it goes back, everything gets smaller, all right? If I want to draw a box going above this point, I'll go this way, and then I'll go this way, straight, 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 and then this way and this way. All right, and so here is my box. What I tell people to do is this. Draw, and I'm going to make this smaller down here. Draw the top of the object you want to draw first, like this. Then project down as far as you want it to go. And then draw the bottom of the object down here and just connect the dots. So I drew A first. If I'm going to look up at something, I'm drawing the bottom of the object first, like this. And then I will bring this up like this to here. Okay? All right. Now, to avoid, basically, this helps us to avoid problem A, parallel lines, and it helps us to avoid problem B over here, which is the back is bigger than the front. Understanding this here solves those two problems. Distortion is a different problem, and we're going to tackle distortion right now. So, if I take these two lines, just like I have here, here, and here, and I'm just going to remind you, this is, vanishing point 1, 2, all right? My drawing will stay proportional and it won't distort until I hit a 90-degree angle. So if I go like this, and this line is going straight into the line below it. So I'm going to go right here. 90 degrees means this is going in straight, and it's not leaning one way or another. So we mark a 90-degree angle with a little thing that says this, and that just means 90-degree angle, right? Okay, so right here is a 90-degree angle. If I come down here to here, this here is a 90-degree angle. All right, so if I start making one side longer and the other side shorter, I can create a complete circle that will just be made up of these 90-degree angles. And I'm not going to do the entire circle, but I'll show you what I mean here. See, I start coming in here like this. Here's a 90-degree angle. Here's a 90-degree angle. And you're going to end up with a circle that goes like this. So what I'm going to say is inside is good. Outside is distorted. Okay? So we can call this the cone of vision. It's a very simple explanation of the thing. What it means is when I do this, I am fine until I get here. In other words, I can pull this down until I get to a 90-degree angle. If I go beyond it, if I get something that starts to, say, collapse this box, so it starts going like this, all right? So if I have that nice little square there, you know, I have my nice little square here. If I start bending it up, right? So it starts collapsing like this. When I start getting these shapes, that's distortion, all right? Okay. So draw boxes this way a bunch of times without creating distortion. If you're drawing on the computer, this is what I'm going to recommend. We're going to use a process, and the first third, you're going to draw light. Okay, so that means I'll come in here and I'll do all of this lightly. And you're sketching, so it's okay for it to be fairly loose. When we get into perspective, one thing I've found with people is they either become completely obsessed, you know, with perspective drawing, or they get afraid of it and they don't do it at all. So sketching is basically learning how to think in perspective and how to sketch in perspective. So, you know, these kinds of lines are fine. And then what happens is you start perfecting your box at the end. So you just kind of come in here and clean up the edges. You want your lines to be fairly straight, okay? Like that. Now, there are different ways of approaching perspective. One is, especially on white paper, a lighter line like this is closer in value to the paper than a darker line like this. So this lighter line is going to feel farther away. So if I draw a line like that, it feels farther away than this one right here. So when I sketch in my box, and I use this whole system I'm talking about here, I'll sketch it in light like this, and I'm using a drawing brush in Photoshop, and I'm just not pressing down that hard. I happen to be using a Cintiq tablet. By the way, you guys can do this traditionally or digitally. Okay, so I'll do this. And then what I'll do is I will sketch the front again and make it a little darker, because that's going to start projecting the front forward a little more. And sometimes we make the bottom line a little darker too, because it creates the feeling of a shadow. All right? Now, one of the things that happens is when we start using these boxes, once you are able to draw them in perspective, we can start adding other lines in there. And you're going to see that all of these lines are either going to 1, that vanishing point, 2, this vanishing point, or they are going 3 down, okay? This is 2-point perspective, which is basically meaning that these 3 lines are parallel. They will never touch, okay? If you want to imply 3-point perspective, frequently the vanishing point is way below, so we may tilt these in slightly, okay? I'm not worrying about 3-point perspective at the moment. We're talking about a sketching class here, and frankly, adding 3-point perspective to this is easy later on. So let's just not even worry about it. Let's just stick with this for the moment, okay? So this is page 1, All right, so what have we covered on page 1? You know, we've covered 1. How to get a good box. Okay. 2, how to avoid distortion. And 3, start light and then draw darker on top. And actually draw darker in the front too. All right. So that's how we're putting that together. And this is just the first page. Now we're going to move on to the next thing that I want to show you. I'm going to go to my layers palette, create a new layer. All right. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some things. One is, you'll notice that when I pull out of the corners, like let's say this is vanishing point 1 here, and this is coming down the side, you're going to notice that I'm constantly fanning out from vanishing point 1 like this. Okay, and then I'll come over here. Here's vanishing point 2, and I'm fanning out from vanishing point 2. Okay, and basically I'm fanning. It's a you know, it looks like a fan. See, and then we come down here and connect things, and we get a box. So we're going to give this a name. We're going to give this a name. When I'm doing this, I am fanning. So this is fanning. Anytime I'm pulling out of a corner, anywhere, I am fanning. All right? Now, these here are straights. And anytime I'm drawing a straight, I basically think straight. So when I'm drawing a box, what I want to do is just think 2 words. I'm going to think, and I literally think these words. These words, if you think them, they will drive all of the other thoughts out of your head. And this is good because, you know, you're basically going to be thinking, you don't want to think that. So you're going to think fanning, 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 straight, 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 fanning, fanning. Okay, so I'm going to look at this, and I'm not going to draw all of this. I'm just going to come in here and sketch this in, and I'm going to say, come on. Okay, fanning, 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 straight, 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 fanning, fanning. Okay, so let's look up. Fanning, 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 straight, 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 fanning, fanning. All right? All I'm doing is 1, fanning from 2 corners. So I'm fanning from 1 and 2. We know those are vanishing points, but I'm fanning in from those corners. And when I draw these lines, I'm going like this. And you'll see that this is smaller. This is bigger. And that means that they are going to converge and meet at some point. And so what I'm doing is I'm sketching the box in space without having to put all this extra rigmarole in here, which is problematic. Okay, so I like to teach people how to draw boxes, draw things using boxes first, and then what I do is teach them how to lay a ground plane down and place everything they know how to draw into the ground plane. Well, and it's a good way of learning perspective. We're just starting with something that's nice and graspable, which is the box, okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do, you know, I want you to do this, you know, 40 times. Okay? And out of your 40 boxes, I want you to choose 5 to send to me. Okay? So you're going to do 40 of these to practice it, and then 5 to send to me. All right. So let's take a look at a couple of other things. If I go fanning, 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 straight, straight, fanning, straight, fanning, all right? Let's say I want to round or cut off the corner of the box, okay? I'm going to have a line that goes fanning, fanning, and I'm going to cut this corner right here. And now I've cut a piece off the end of the box like this, all right? And I've cut it off in perspective, see, because this line back here is going to be shorter than this line here. Everything I'm doing relates. Everything I'm doing relates to the vanishing points, okay? Let's try that again. Let's come in here and do something maybe just a little different, okay? We'll go fanning, 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 straight, straight, straight. And by the way, when you're drawing your lines, I want you to draw your lines like this. I want you to make your lines authoritative, bold, like you know what you're doing, okay? If you screw it up, I want you to screw it up confidently because you're training yourself to be an artist, and I don't want you to be a nervous artist. So don't draw the lines like this. Don't don't create these little hairy lines like this. You know, they just make everybody think you're nervous. Okay, so just, you know, avoid that. And double stroking is good because it looks sketchy, okay? So, and you're gonna find artists will frequently do this on Photoshop. They'll go like this, and then they'll put that in. They'll kind of come in here and they rehearse it and then they put it in, okay? But when they put it in, it's confident. So I'm gonna bring this down, straight, straight, fanning, 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 okay? So what I'm doing is cutting chunks out of my box, and I'm cutting the chunks out in perspective. See, I'm coming in here and going fanning, 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 straight, fanning, straight. So I've just cut chunks out. You do this a bunch of times and you've got a step, okay? Another thing, fanning, 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 fanning. Make sure the front is bigger. Straight, 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 fanning, fanning. I'm going to do something. I'm going to make this darker in the front so it comes forward a little bit. Now I'm going to see through, which means I'm drawing a light line and I'm seeing through the object to the back. And now I've drawn a box that has an inside as well as an outside. All right? Good basic stuff. All right, so all of this, by the way, is called simple. My writing is worse than my drawing, I can tell you. This is simple subdivision. In other words, I'm cutting something off. Let's try something else. Let's do stacking, okay? Here is a box, fanning, 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 straight, straight, fanning, straight, fanning, and underneath it, straight, fanning, straight, fanning, and straight, okay? So here I've placed one cube on top of another cube right here. Now, what's really important, and I'm going to put this in red so you guys can see it, this edge and this edge can't line up, and you really don't want these edges to line up here. That's called tangencies, by the way, when these things line up incorrectly. Because if they line up, well, then it's not stacking anymore. It becomes another form of simple subdivision. So this is stacking. Okay. What else can I do with boxes? Hey, let's put a hole in one. So we're going to come in here and say here to here to here to here. All right. So I'm going to say here is the bottom of my hole. I'm going to ghost in the back side, see, so I know what's in there. Ghosting is something which the artist uses to help them understand. And I'm going to draw from this point here, put a little red piece right here, okay? I'm going to draw down, that's a straight, right? Fanning, up, and then I would say fan to the back, see? So I'm going to go fanning, all right? Then I'll have this going in this direction, fanning, straight, all right? And I'll show you. I bring this in, straight, fanning, straight. And what I've done is I've just put a hole in the box, but I've made sure that the hole on the inside of the box is in perspective the same thickness as the hole on the end of the box. So in other words, I've made sure that in perspective, this works with this, okay? And that's important. And that's what ghosting or seeing through does, right? So, you know, I could actually do a seeing through here and let you know exactly where this is encountering the surface of the other box. All right, but we're going to do that as time goes on. So this is cutting a hole in it. Okay, so what have we got here? We have 1, simple subdivision, 2, stacking, 3, cutting a hole in it. All right, let's try this one. We'll come up here and we're going to have this one here go here, fanning, 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 straight, 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 fanning, fanning. Then notice that I'm pulling something out from the back underneath to here and in. That's fanning, straight, 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 fanning, fanning. And then I come down here, fanning, 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 fanning. That's the top of the box, right? So I'm coming in here and I'm putting this in, straight, 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 right here. Okay. So right in here, this is the shadow side. So this is the side of the box over here. It's not really the shadow side. I'm just doing it to give it a little more mass so it's easier to see. Okay. All right. Now, the trick here, and I'm going to go to red, is that you want these ends coming in like this, right? So what it's doing is saying they're not touching anywhere. And what this device is called, it's called floating. And you see floating all the time, by the way, in architecture. Like you'll see, you know, this will be coming out right below, before you get to a ceiling. You'll get something that happens like right here. And then there will be a gap and the ceiling will come out from above it. And basically it's a device that makes ceilings feel lighter than they really are, okay? So floating, we're gonna call that number 4. Then we're gonna go to number 5. And this one's the trickiest one. So again, with all of these, you would start by drawing them light, you see, like this, because you're figuring it out, right? I mean, you're not gonna, but you're gonna draw light. And if you're drawing in Photoshop, you do it on one layer, maybe do the finish on another one. If you're drawing using traditional material, I think using a 20% cool gray marker is a great way to do this, because the cool gray marker functions like a a light layer in Photoshop. You could even use a 10%. I'll have students use that too. So I have to come in here and I have a problem, see? Because see, this line here is going to run into this line here, and then I'm going to have it over here. So I'm going to make this thinner. See, I'll bring this in and bring it back. Then I'm not going to have this one and this one running into each other, which I don't want. So I'll come in here like this. Now, ghosting through, here's the other side of the box. This is an easy thing to do in Photoshop. And then this is just going to carry through to the other side. Okay, so we'll just carry it over here through to the other side like this. Make sure they connect. And then here is the top. And what's happening is we don't have any lines meeting up in odd ways. And this is one of the things you want to avoid when you're drawing objects, is you don't want them meeting in odd ways. It's kind of like never draw an object in a position where it doesn't look like what it is, you know. So don't draw a gun from a strange position that I can't recognize it in. And you'll notice that pros don't do that. Amateurs do it, but pros don't. You know. Okay. All right. So this is called interlocking. Interlocking. And this is number 5. Okay. So we can draw any of these things by basically fanning and using fanning and straights. So you can draw all of these using fanning and straights. Okay? And you can also make the front darker than the back, like this. And that'll help to project it forward. And you can use light to begin with and then go darker on top to figure it out. If you're using Photoshop, it's 1, a light layer, and then 2, darker on top. If you're working traditionally, you're going to take a 10 to 20% marker, cool gray marker, and that's, I'll say 1, and then 2, you're going to finish with Prismacolor black. Okay. The purpose of this assignment is to get you guys going, to really get you guys going drawing boxes. Okay. So again, what I'm going to say is do as many of these as you can. I'd say do 40 boxes, and then do all 5 . Do all 5 at least 3 times. Okay? If you do more, you'll learn a little faster. But first thing I want you to be able to do is create solid volumes. And if you can do this, then we can teach you how to draw anything. If you can draw a box, you can draw anything. If you can't draw a box, on the other hand, you can't draw anything. This is an either-or thing. So I'm going to focus on this, and you're going to find that it's very, very helpful. The next page I'm going to show you are exercises, which you should do. And, you know, I'll forget to tell you to do it, but I think you should do it every single week for class, okay? 1, you need to get your lines under control, okay? And if you're working on a computer, you have to move the screen around. And the thing you need to see is when you're drawing, we have a mechanical system, right? So I teach people to draw by drawing, you know, a horizontal line this way. So on paper, you draw a horizontal line this way, and then you draw a vertical line this way. So you pull your elbow in this direction, or you drop your elbow in this direction. So you go boom, boom. The other thing that happens with students drawing traditionally is they actually move the paper a lot. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. They get a clipboard and they attach their paper with all these clips and things as if somebody's going to steal it. Don't do that. Just, you need a big open space so you can turn the paper around, so move all your junk away so it's not in the way. And then move the paper so you get really used to moving your hand a little bit and move the paper a little bit. And you want to be able to get so that you can sketch these lines pretty easily, okay? And that will help you a great deal. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, again, what I see people doing is they either ignore something completely, like they don't want to deal with perspective at all, or they think perspective is the difference between, you know, like I'm talented or I'm not. And so they obsess about it. It's just a working tool. It's like anything else. It's, you're just using it as a way of helping you to form up your drawing. And that's really what it is. So we're sketching here. So pretty good perspective is good enough, right? But no perspective, it's not going to work. If you get too hung up on perspective, it's also not going to work because it's going to kind of kill the energy in your drawing, okay? So here's what I want you to do is these exercises, okay? Now, one is fanning. Straight, 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 straight. So you just do this. I make students do this over and over again. Fanning. Try to make them sort of equidistant. So this is 1, fanning. 2 is drawing parallel lines. Try to make parallel lines that are roughly equidistant from each other and parallel. Then move, readjust the paper. If you're working on Photoshop, reposition it on your screen, do something, and then give yourself the optimal chance to come in here and put little boxes in there. If you're working traditionally, what you're going to do is you're going to go in there and you're going to move the paper around. Okay? Then put a circle inside each one, touching all edges. And by the way, you're not going, none of that chicken stuff. You just kind of come in here and do this. Then when that gets pretty good, double the size of the circle, see? So it takes up 4 squares instead of 1, like this, okay? And what this does is just kind of tune your hand up, right? Some of you will have a poorly tuned hand. If you really want to torment yourself, do one of these. You come in here and you go like this. Each circle has to touch the one next to it. See? As we come forward. All right. The other thing you want to keep in mind is that when we're drawing ellipses, which will come later, but here is the center, here is the top, and here is the bottom. Here I'm looking up, and it's going to be fatter. And as I start drawing these ellipses coming towards the center, they're going to get narrower. And when I come in here, they're going to start getting fatter as we come towards the bottom, okay? So this is drawing ellipses in different positions, and it fits in like this, see? Okay? And again, the farther away it up, the farther from the center, fatter, and flatter, down, fatter. Okay? All right. The next one I want you to do is wrapping over. So this I also do in the life drawing class, where I'm going to have you draw 2 lines. It's straight in, straight out. So you're going to wrap this over like this. And later on, we're going to use this for scaling. So practice this like this. Straight out, straight in, straight out, straight in. Come over here and try it like this. Straight out, straight in, straight out, straight in. And this is going to allow you to scale elements inside an object. Okay, so this is a very, very good exercises. And then here, exercise. And then in here, straight in, straight out, where you're going to go like this. Straight in, straight out, where you're going to go like this. And then basically you're just going to always straight in, always straight out. And you're just going to come through here and keep doing this like this, okay? Any one of those areas that you haven't filled is an area you haven't practiced yet. Okay, so we have 1, and that's this one and this one. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, pretty good. I'm going to give you some more. And then I'm going to give you a 6th exercise, and this is about creating beautiful lines, where you're going to draw this here and this here. Put a dot up here, and in one stroke, it's about the arc, folks. It's really about the beautiful arc. That's just a target, so you'll try something new. So if I could put it way over here, look. Okay? So then we come down here. That's about how to draw beautiful arcs and not being scared of everything all the time. So this is number 6. And then I think I'll leave that for this week. I think this is plenty. Okay? So, homework assignment. Since I'm always changing my mind, I'll put it here on the last page and you'll have it. Okay? It's going to be 40 boxes. And at least 5, I'm going to say, of each of the, things you can do with boxes. Okay. All right, see, my typing is no better than my printing. Okay. Of each of the things you can do with boxes, okay? So you're going to send me through Drawing America. You post it. They'll show you how to do it. 5 boxes. 5 boxes. And the 5 each. All right. So everything I'm asking you to do uses the same thing, right? It's all fanning, 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 straight, 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 fanning, fanning. You're cutting things apart. This here is to start getting your hand under control so that we can really teach you how to do this stuff effectively. And all of this you can do really without me. So I think you're in pretty good shape with this. All right. And I want to thank you all for signing up for the class. It's going to be a very good class. And as I said, the kind of drawing we're going to do here is going to teach you how to do drawing that you can use in compositions. And that's very important because most of the time you're composing environments and scenes and things like that. And occasionally you put people in it. Most work, say, in animation is for environmental design. So, at least for artists. So you're going to find this to be very helpful. And if you're interested in illustration, children's books, any of that stuff, you're learning how to compose pictures and draw everything that will go in the picture. So this is very helpful. And anyway, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.